Morning Line, thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. We're talking, as you see on the screen there, Elder Care Law, sponsored by Takis and McGinnis Law Practice there, Elder Care Law, and Barbara McGinnis is with us. Nice to have her on. We had someone waited through the break. Can we take that phone call?
Absolutely.
Do that. Let's go to Neva. Neva, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Neva. How can we help you?
Okay, I have a nephew that's 54 years old. He is disabled in a wheelchair. He's been disabled for many years, and he's blind.
I'm so sorry.
He has his own trailer. His mom passed away 2 years ago and left him the trailer. He's got two people they're supposed to be taking care of him, and they're not doing it. He keeps ending up in the hospital because they don't keep the trailer clean. And they don't keep food in the house.
Yeah, boy. So is he on, what's he living on? Does he have Social Security disability?
Yes.
SSI? All right, so he has SSI, and then his mom left him a trailer and any other assets?
No, he just gets his disability.
Okay, and no other relatives, really? No brothers or sisters or anyone else?
He has a sister.
Okay, is she helping out?
No, her husband has cancer and is in the hospital.
Okay, wow.
So, Neva, I'm sorry for interrupting, but
Yeah.
your actual question is, how do you intervene? Is that your question?
It's how he can get them people out of his house.
Oh, well,
Are they living with him?
They're living with him.
and he doesn't want them there?
They've been living there since before his mom died.
Oh.
And who are they? Friends?
They're his nieces and her husband.
A niece and her husband, and he wants them gone.
Yeah, because the ward don't work and the girl works at Sonic.
Wow.
Where do they live? Are they in Metro?
They live in that trailer.
I know. Here in the city, or what city are they in?
Murfreesboro.
Oh, okay. You know what? I don't know. And this may be outside some of what you deal with, but if he's having problems ending up in the hospital because of caregiving, he may have to have his case referred to the Adult Protective Services if he's in a living situation that's dangerous for him. When it comes down to family members that are living, it sounds like he has a disability. I don't know that they have a conservatorship, but how do you deal with it when this is not his mom or dad, these are cousins? What would you think?
I think the first thing I would try is just asking them to leave. You know,
they've been there a while. I mean, but then if they do leave, I don't know what level of care they provide. What does he do to get someone to help him? He's blind. He's got a disability.
Right. So Adult Protective Services is actually a good place to start. Sometimes
that's what the state.
Yeah. Because so we're all mandatory reporters if we think someone is living in a neglectful situation or a potential abusive situation.
Right.
So we report, and then they have their intake procedure, and they will do an investigation and look for, is there a possibility of additional services for him? So in a community like Rutherford County, which is not rural at all, so that there could be a wide variety of services available for someone with disability with low assets through the Choices at Home program, perhaps, even for someone as young as 54 because of his chronic disability status. Yeah. Not real clear if it's SSI or SSDI, and that does make a little bit of a difference in what kind of group service that we could get through the Choices provider. Group 3 is still open for enrollment for SSI recipients, and Group 2 is the home and community-based services. So there is opportunities for services. I can imagine that this young man is still worried about not having those type of caregivers that it might necessitate him not being able to live at home.
Right. And he's got this trailer he's lived in much of his life, and he doesn't want to leave that.
You know, like we were talking about just off the air. People want to live in their own home. You know, they want to live there as long as possible, and they're willing to assume a certain amount of risk to do that. They're also care managers through his insurance. There are care coordinators and discharge planners at the hospital that need to be aware of what the limitations are in his home environment. Yeah. But Adult Protective Services may be a very good place to start. In fact, he can call himself.
Yeah, that's okay. That's with the state. If you call one of the state numbers, you ask directory assistance, you file the complaint or the report, and then the state can send out someone to check out the situation and see if he keeps getting hospitalized. And if he's, I'm guessing, if he's been blind much of his life and has a disability, he's on SSI, and that's not much money at all anyway.
Absolutely.
And if the people living with him aren't really contributing, I don't know how 3 people are even coming close to living on his single SSI in this trailer. That's not a good situation. So. I hope that helps with that, but try Adult Protective Services as a place to start, and they can refer you. Hey, the Elder Care Law Hour, that's Fridays, 9 o'clock, right?
Yes, it is.
Do you talk about different stuff than what we're talking about here? Is it basically the same? What do you focus on?
Well, it's more of a talk show where we have guests.
Yeah, that's right. You bring a ton of guests.
So we do talk about elder care issues or elder law issues, but we bring in a variety of community experts. So it's really just it's Tim and I pretending to be you.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
We get to ask the questions, and our guests are the ones that are showcased and are given time to talk about their programs and how. Our most recent episode will be about financial abuse, scams, and exploitation, how it's investigated, prosecuted, what can you do to prevent it. We've had a police officer there talking about what they do at a local community level. We had a district attorney, a judge, and someone from Adult Protective Services on. So that episode will be coming up really soon.
Because that happens. Have you had clients that have been taken? Or have you had some that you felt maybe were losing money because of unscrupulous, I don't know, telemarketers, whatever it may be?
A lot of times older people will get on a mailing list, and they'll get these donation request letters, and so they get sucked into their contributing monthly to a variety of organizations, and you know, those $10 here and there add up on a fixed income.
I've never heard of that, where they'll accidentally or whatever sign up for something where there's a draw on their account of every month
Absolutely.
for whatever the heck it is.
Right. And, you know, and they think that they're everything from saving this whales to promoting the Republican Party.
It's a cause that they believe in, that they want to get behind.
But it may not be the best organization to further that cause, is what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with, you know, supporting organizations you believe in, but these may be not the primary or the choice programs to do it
or they're being targeted and misled. Because, you know, my parents are the same way. They have some money. They're not rich by any means, but they have some money, and they want to give to some causes they believe in. And we always talk to them about, that's fine, whatever you want to do with your money, but kind of let us know, and maybe we seek out where you want to give, as opposed to if anyone contacts you. I'm always wary of solicitors, not that there aren't some that are legitimate, but especially if they're talking. It's amazing how much stuff they can find out about a senior on Google, and then just kind of hit them with stuff where they think, well, they must be legit because they know all this information about me, and they don't realize how much is available these days online, and they fool these folks, and then they end up turning over their account numbers.
We were talking about one of the most prevalent current scams is the grandparent scam, where someone calls and they're pretending to be a grandchild or a great-grandchild.
Happened to my dad. Oh, my son was locked up in a Mexican prison.
There you go.
They needed money.
Immediately.
My dad almost fell for that. That's when I knew he was going over the edge, because my dad a few years ago never. But to his credit, he called me and said, "Nick, is Huey okay?" I go, "Why? What do you mean? He's in a Mexican prison." And I said, "Dad," and then he got embarrassed when I said, "Dad, he's right here. You know better than that." But they play on your emotion, and so then logic goes out the window, and you're worried about your grandson. Understand that. So, I want to find the people that did that, and I want to string them up somewhere, arms up here, tied to a garage door, and then their legs here, and then I want to pull really hard so they snap in half.
You sit there and just play with your
That's what I'd like to do,
remote.
because the people that prey on those folks, let's just stop it right there. I don't want to get too off color on what I would like to do to them.
There you go.
But I would go medieval, because they're awful, awful individuals. All right, let's take a call from Pam. Pam, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Pam, what's on your mind?
I have a question for the attorney. what kind of services, if any, do you have for people who, or perhaps you know organizations that you could refer people to who don't really have family and who need, say they put together some kind of plan for their life, you know, for the end of life, but they don't really have family or anybody they really trust. Do you have any suggestions, or are there any organizations that can help?
Great question.
That is a great question.
What do you do?
And it is probably one of the most difficult situations now because, you know, we had talked about powers of attorney, and that often it's a spouse or a child that serves in that capacity, even if we're talking about a conservatorship, same thing. But what if you are not married and you don't have children? You may or may not have children that could serve. They may not be close enough that they could, and I'm talking about geographically, physically close enough to you to serve. Or maybe you just don't have children, because that's becoming a trend too. And no siblings, no really close friends. So you start looking out, you start casting your net out wider and wider.
What would you do? What would you do? Who would you look at? Would you look in your church? Is there someone that you can hire that would do that for a very reasonable amount? I'm talking about an attorney. Would you do that for a client if they had no one else and say, well, we could be your power of attorney, or is that something that isn't done?
No, we would not do that.
Okay.
And I think it would be rare to find an attorney to serve for their own client. Now, so the bigger answer here is there's not like, oh, there's 1-800, we can call this group of people, and they're just lying in wait to serve in this capacity. That doesn't exist. However, on an individual counseling basis, you do start looking for casting out that net. Church friends, neighbors they trust, friends, colleagues, and then when we just get to that rare person that has absolutely no one that they can trust, well, then they are paid for services. There are geriatric care managers that would help and perhaps serve as at least a health care agent or advocate. There are paid bill payers. They are paid trustees. There are people that are willing to take on those certain tasks.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was wondering if instead of having a power of attorney spelled out, if you kind of wrote out, I don't know if it's the same thing, it's kind of like a living will. If you sat down with, say, you and Tim and just decided, okay, I'm just going to spell out everything here in all these eventualities that could happen to me, so there's at least some directives from what I want done. If I'm not in a position to answer specifically when it happens to me, you can refer to this.
Yes, and then you start looking at, well, who's going to hold that person accountable?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not I don't think it's a great answer, but it is an answer. That's a role of a conservator sometimes. So you pick someone who would serve. There are organizations like 50 Forward that it's like a public guardianship program, but
that's a tough one. Listen, we got to take a break on that.
It's a huge issue.
I think there's options there. Most people probably have some idea, be it a church or a neighbor, someone that maybe you trust, if you just have to have someone. So let's take a break. When we come back, you know, we've got Stan, Deborah, Marianne. The number is 737-7587. Any questions for Barbara McGinnis? She's great. She knows her law, and we can give you some free legal advice. That's the way to go. We'll be right back with more right after this.
This is